Okay, I was told that the volume was no good on the notes before, so we're going to try this one. All right, this notes on order of operations, integer computation, as well as exponents and absolute value. Order of operations, we should know, is the way that we have to solve a problem. We usually use this PEMDAS, all right, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Now, I tend to think of it, instead of as a straight line, I think of it more along the line of steps, because we want to do this in steps, all the parentheses first. And again, P for parentheses doesn't mean just parentheses, it means any grouping symbol, right? Grouping symbols could be parentheses, what we call brackets or set brackets. This word over here called vinculum is a kind of a weird word, but it basically means that big fraction bar. So if I have 4 plus 8 over 3, the vinculum actually groups together the 4 plus 8, and I do that addition first before the subtraction because the 4 plus 8 is being grouped together. So I wouldn't divide first. Then exponent or multiplication division, and then addition or subtraction as it comes from left to right. Now the multiplication and division and addition and subtraction are of equal level of importance. All right. Sorry about that. So I have I for indices. Now my friends in England say, they don't say PEMDAS, they say BIDMAS, and B is for bracket, I is for indices or index, and sometimes you'll see now the British call what we call parentheses, they call brackets, and then what we call brackets, these square things, they call braces. They do I for index or indices is the plural of that. That means exponents. Same. Notice they have division and then multiplication instead of multiplication division, and we know that they're on the same level, right? They're on the same level of importance. So their division and multiplication, and then their addition and subtraction. Again, that's why I would have them on steps. Multiplication division is comes from left to right. All right. Now, when we add integers, all right, I want to be thinking battle or join is the phrase that we usually use here at Country Day, and that's when I'm deciding between two. If they're the same, if they're different signs, one's positive, one's negative, they battle, and whatever is left over after the battle, after the carnage is done. So if we look at 8 plus negative 12, all right, those are different signs, and so that's a battle. And the negatives have 4 more, so the negatives will win by 4 there. Here, if I look at negative 7 plus negative 29, that's a join. They're both the same, so they'll join forces, and they'll be even more negative. It'll be 7 plus 29 negative, or negative 36. This next one is a battle, negative plus a positive, so they're opposite signs. So the difference between those, there'll be 5 more positives. This is a join. All right, so we join those values to be negative 21. And then we've got a battle, this last one. There's 3 more positives than there are negatives. So, positive 3. All right, positive rule number 1. All right, again, blow your mind again. Day 2, second time, I never subtract. What? How can you be a math teacher if you don't subtract? Now, subtraction, here's the thing that will blow your mind. Subtraction does not really exist. It's just a trick that they invented to show little kids when they are talking about the inverse or the opposite of addition, they don't, cry. But subtraction is the opposite of addition. So instead of subtracting, I add the opposite. So I'm going to rewrite, or at least I'm going to think of them as being rewritten. The subtraction is adding the opposite. And then I'm going to use my battle join rules. And the battle join rules only are for addition. So if it's written as a subtraction, you got to rewrite it as an addition, adding the opposite. Subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So 8 minus 12. I'm going to change that to, instead of minus negative 12, I'm going to change that to plus 12. And then, by the way, that's 20. Yay. All right. Negative 7 minus negative 29. I'm going to rewrite it or think of it as negative 7 plus the opposite of negative 29 is positive 29. So now, is this a battle or join? This is a battle. The positives will win by 22. Negative 13 minus 18. I'm going to change it to minus 18 to plus negative 18. Add the opposite. So now this is quite clearly a join. So I join the negatives together to be negative 31. Change negative 9 minus negative 12 to plus 12. It's a battle that the positives win by 3. And this one is going to be plus the negative 24, so it's a join. What's the negatives joined together to be negative 45. I also don't like the big plus. Some people do the big plus. It's good when you just have two terms. Right? I think off to the side I'm going to show the big plus here. Nope. But if it's, I get messed up if it's more than that. Alright, so negative 3 minus negative 7. Some people change this, the minus the negative, to the big plus. And then they say that, oh, that's 4. Well, that's fine if there's only two terms. But if there's more than two terms, it's not really adding that. So if I look at this one, I can't change minus the negative 12 to plus 12 because I'm also supposed to minus a positive 20. I'm going to remove this here so you can see what I'm talking about. It's 3 minus that parentheses. So in the parentheses is 8. So it really should be 3 minus 8 or negative 5. So if you make it the big plus, the problem with that is you don't also subtract the 20. So if there's two terms in there, you got to subtract both terms. You can't just subtract the negative 12. If you distributed the negative sign to both terms, you'd have 3 plus 12 minus 20. Okay, negative 5. Again, don't use the big plus here because there's more than two terms. So don't use a big plus because then you're only subtracting the negative 2 and you're not going to subtract the 15, which is not correct. You've got to subtract both terms in the parentheses. So we're going to rewrite this as minus a negative 2x, which becomes plus 2x, and minus a positive 15, which becomes minus 15. Now I can combine my like terms. All right, the 12 minus 15 plus 2x. Think of the minus 15 as plus negative 15. So it becomes negative 3 plus 2x. And probably, realistically, I would probably change it to 2x minus 3. Alright, for multiplying and dividing integers, remember, and again, these are all things that we covered on the first day and over the summer. We're going to just count the negatives. If we have a negative times a negative, that's a positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. Negative times a positive is also a negative. And if you didn't know, a positive times a positive is a positive. So we're going to count the negatives. If there's an odd number of negatives, factors, then the answer is negative. If there's an even number of negative factors like 2, negative times negative, there's 2 negatives, that becomes a positive. negative 3 times negative 2, negative 1. There are 3 negatives. So it's an odd number, so the answer is that says odd number of negative factors. In case you can't translate my Bossert spelling. So the answer is negative. If there's an even number of negative factors, then it's positive. Since there's 3, that's odd. It's going to be negative, and then you go ahead and multiply the factors themselves and you get 6. Negative 6. Alright. You're going to do this integer practice. Good luck. And you can pause it at any time right now and then come back when you're done. Okay, we have negative 19 down there. 30. 36 minus negative 6 becomes 36 plus 6 or 42. And here, number 4, I've got 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the product is negative. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the numbers. 4 times 2 times 3 times 2 times 15 is 720. So negative 720. Alright, that's it for order of operations and integer rules. And the next one is on absolute value and exponents. Okay. Again, these are going to be review for you, and hopefully you did pretty well with this video. And we will do a lot of practice in class. Thank you. Namaste.